It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
This is the Cosmick Voice. Cosmick Voice. Music, talk, and nothing but business with your hosts, Chris Natalini and Mick Michaels. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cosmick Voice. This is Season 5, Episode 21. I am here with the one and only Chris Natalini.
What is up?
I am Mick Michaels. Welcome back, everyone, to another show, The Cosmick Voice, Season 5, Episode 21. Chris, here's where we're at. How are you?
Oh, it's amazing, man. Amazing. I know I said it on the last episode. We just keep moving along, brother. I am doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. Like I said in the last episode, man, we are just about to cross that finish line. Just a couple more episodes left in Season 5. You're
Crazy.
Already talking Season 6. I haven't even started to spell it yet.
It's crazy. It's crazy how this time just goes and goes and goes, man. It's just amazing to me.
It does. It does. And at one point, you're like, wow, we have all these episodes ahead of us. And now we're like, wow, we have all these episodes behind us already. Like, where did the time go? I mean, we're already, halfway through this year. And I'm figuring, didn't we just put the Christmas tree away? Now I got to I got to drag it out for July. What, you just did?
Not too long ago.
Yeah, there's some people still taking their outside decorations down.
We're halfway to Halloween, baby. This is it. We're here.
We're here. Yeah.
We're here, buddy. We're here.
Well, that's good. That's good. So what do you got going on? Anything exciting happening?
No, man, no. Just, looking forward to the summer concert series. There's some killer shows that are coming around this summer, so I'm pretty excited about that. A lot of outdoors, and hopefully have some nice weather and a good summer. Looking forward to it.
Well, they're calling for a nice summer.
I hope so,
but we don't know if it's going to be super hot or not. But we'll see.
No, we don't.
Yeah, there are a lot of big shows coming through the U.S., like a lot of more stadium type shows. Some of the guys that aren't retiring per se, because now the new fad is to celebrate the anniversary of an album and to play it in its entirety, right? And then some other stuff like that. So it's kind of exciting. Some of these songs have never been played live, and some haven't been played in years, whatever.
Yep.
I forget who had just said it. They refused to, except said it, the guitar player, Wolf, had said, we're not going to do that. He goes, because in essence, every year you'd be celebrating an anniversary.
And an album,
Yeah, and an album.
Totally.
And he goes,
that
and it just
sense.
seems to be kind of contradictive to what we're wanting to do and getting out there for the people. So we just keep hammering, the songs and work on a new album and take cuts from that and stuff like that. There's a band who just keeps piling through.
Just keep going, man. Just keep moving forward.
Right? They had a gigantic tour over the winter over in Europe.
Yep.
I mean, packed places. I guess they'll come here. They do a number of shows here in the States. Nothing. It's been a while, though. It's been a while since they've been here, but they do.
Yeah, they were here, I guess, 2 summers ago. They played the M3 Festival, Yeah.
Always a good show with those guys. Even back in the Udo days, it's always been a solid show.
They're just one of those solid bands, man.
Yeah, and now they're running 3 guitar players.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, 3 guitar players. Yeah. I don't think that they needed it. Christ almighty. They were one of those bands with 2 guitar players that was just amazing right there. That sound.
But, I guess, if you want to refer to our last episode... At least they're not using backing tracks.
At least they're not using... Yes, there's a good idea. If you don't want to use backing tracks, just hire another player.
Just get another guitar player.
Now I understand why back in the 70s, early 80s, you had bands with 2 drummers. Now I get it. 2 drummers, 16 guitar players, a couple bass players.
Well, I look at Iron Maiden and I go, okay, that's cool. 3 guitar players. It sounds great. Then I look at Alice Cooper. I'm like, why does he need 3 guitar players? That doesn't... Stuff can't be that. I just don't understand the 3 guitar player thing.
Well, I think with Iron Maiden, they just didn't have the balls to fire the other guy. And they figured,
listen, when Bruce came back, he was like, "Listen, I'm coming back, but I'm bringing this guy, and you can't fire anybody else." So they just incorporated all 3 guitars, and I respect that.
It's worked.
Alice Cooper, I'm like, I don't understand. Like visually, it looks cool, but I'm like, are they all playing the same thing? I don't know. I don't understand that.
I don't know. It's just another guy to pay.
Exactly, dude. You know, that's why these guys like Tommy Kiefer and Brett Michaels, like, they don't go back to the well. They're like, I'd rather make all the money than split it 4 ways.
Right, because they can pay a backing band inexpensively. Them guys are just excited to have a working gig.
Exactly. Like, why do I have to split my pay 4 ways when I can just do all the same songs myself and just hire a backup band?
Right. And then
Kiefer's not paying his wife. You know what I mean? No. She's in the band. He's not paying her.
These guys with their wives in the band. I don't know.
That's season 6.
Yeah, that's the opening show of season 6. I mean, there's a list of them.
There is. You
know, and then the other hot topic now, rock stars that wear wigs. Like, come on.
I know. I mean, listen. And again, like our last episode about backing tracks, like wigs have been a thing forever. I mean, it just always has.
Yeah, I mean, men wore wigs back in colonial time. What are we talking about? Come on, stop this stuff.
Yeah.
The don't the judges in England still wear wigs?
Yes, I believe they do.
Yeah,
you get punch in, there's powder comes out.
Yeah, I don't know, man. So, I mean, why not? I mean, hair extension's been around for, the dawn of time.
Dude,
come on.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Yeah,
I don't know.
Look, a lot of the '80s bands, right? Everybody had hair extensions in. Who cares?
Yeah, it was. I mean, listen, you needed a look real quick. That was the fastest way that you could do it.
Yeah.
George Lynch says that was part of the reason why Ozzy and Sharon didn't pick him to be the replacement for Randy Rhoads, because at the time he had decided before he got the call he was going to cut his hair, get a job, and just kind of go. And so he had real short hair. They kept asking him, why'd you cut your hair? That kind of thing. So, I don't know. Who knows? You got to take sometimes what these guys say with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Because, first of all, you're talking 40-plus years. Can we really count on some of these memories to be as accurate?
Yeah.
When you're telling yourself your own narrative, I guess you can repeat it over and over again. But the unfortunate thing about that is there's guys that have changed the narrative several times, and you're like, I don't know. You know what I mean? The story keeps changing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
You're side by side. Side by side the truth.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So who knows? And it's always the guys that need the most press that are doing the most talk.
Oh.
I don't know. Chris.
It's amazing.
But it is amazing. It goes back to our dirty laundry episode. It's just sometimes the best course is just to not say anything, keep going, and demonstrate the truth by your new accomplishments, by what you keep doing.
Yeah. And it's so weird to me, like, these guys that come out of the woodwork and, keep their name in the press. And, now there's this thing, and I'm going to refer back to the last episode, now there's this thing where, like, Carmine Appice or Appice, whatever, like, where did he come from? Like, how is he all of a sudden in the news?
I know.
Because he claims to have talked to Mick Mars. Like, why didn't Mick Mars come out and say it? Like, why is Carmine speaking for Mick Mars? And it's just weird. That whole thing, that whole argument between Mick Mars, Carmine, and Nikki Sixx, like, that whole thing is so weird to me.
Yeah, it's a he said, she said thing.
It's so weird. Like, who the hell is talking to Carmine Appice? Yeah. Like, what? He's been out in the press for years.
Hey, fellas, look, here's a year's supply of hair color. Split it up among yourselves. We just got you black. Go have a good time.
It's so weird. So weird. God. But anyway.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's the Ruster Boss.
Take it down. This is Stephen Pearson from Rat, the Rat Bastard. You're listening to the Cosmick Voice.
All right, with that, the topic of tonight's show is if and when to call it quits. If and when to call it quits for an artist or band. What do you think, buddy? When's a good time to say, you know what, that's it. I'm hanging up the Spurs.
Right now.
Good night, everyone.
Go to your rehearsal spot, just take all your gear out and be done. No, I kid. Mick, I don't know, to be honest. Like, we have all had those moments We have talked in the past during the 2020, 2021, during the pandemic. A lot of artists decided they weren't going to do it anymore because they got used to being home. You know, they got used to being with family and friends, and they forgot how much that they missed that life. And life is short, man. We don't know what happens after we're gone. And as we get older, we look at things a little differently. Time means more, even in myself, even in my own personal life. As I get older, I find myself a little more selfish with time. So we've all had those moments during our careers. I'm sure you have. I know I have. And I'm pretty sure, you know, I'm not speaking. I can pretty much speak to any musician that we've all hit those moments where we go, is this worth it? Like, what am I doing? Is it worth the time away? Is it worth the sweat and tears? The business is constantly changing. Between egos and bad business decisions and money and bars or promoters that don't care about bands and not getting paid and band members in and out of bands and I got to search for a new member. And there's so much to it, man. There really is. And I could say for myself that I have been definitely blessed in my career because I have always had things kind of happen. I've always kind of met people somewhere that put me in a position to succeed. And it's only been in the past handful of years that we've talked about before on the show, that I've been starting from scratch. And this whole thing starting from scratch is not as easy as I thought it would be. There's so much to it that I never thought about, and it hits you in the face. And it's super, super frustrating. And because the world and this business has changed since COVID, it's even more frustrating. Because not only am I starting from scratch, I'm starting in a whole new world. And you would think that would be easy, but it's not. Although I've never really sat myself down, looked at myself in the mirror and said, I can't do this anymore. Because honestly, I don't know what I would do without it. But I could see where people just go, I just can't do this anymore. It's just so frustrating. And, you know, mental health is such a big thing right now. And people's mental health is super important. And if it's something that's really affecting your mental health and your day to day, then you just kind of have to just go, maybe this wasn't meant for me. Or if you could just decide that, listen, I'm doing this for fun. And, you and I both know a lot of bands that really just kind of play when they want to. You just go, all right, yeah, we can do it. You know, let's just do it. And that's cool too. I have no problem with that, but I've always been a person that wanted to succeed and do killer things. And I've gotten to do killer things, and I'm just not ready to be done. But I do understand when artists just go, I just can't do it anymore. And I tell you, this has really been, and you also, even though you've had some really good experiences the past year or so, it's hard, and it has gotten harder. And if you would have asked me in 2020, 2021, if it would be this hard, I would have told you no, that I really thought that, you know, when the world kind of reopened, that it would be easy, and it just got harder, which completely floored me. I am not ready to give it up. I am sure there will have to be a time where I do. But, you know, I look at all of my favorite artists who are in their, I mean, God, Sammy Hagar's what, 75 now, 76? I mean, he's really looking at 80 at this point. And he's still out there doing it and doing it just as good. He's a little slower, but he's doing it just as good. And I go, man, a guy like that can do it. Then, I mean, obviously I'm not comparing myself to Sammy Hagar, but I look at guys like that, like Rob Halford and you know, a lot of my heroes, and go, man, if they could still rock it, then why can't I? But it is hard. They're on a completely different level than me. I'm sure if they could call somebody and go, hey, I want to play, they go, okay, cool. You know, where I call somebody, they go, who are you? It's definitely harder on our level. I've never been one to be ready to quit. I think because I just enjoy it so much and I love it so much. It's the only thing I've ever wanted to do. And I'm surrounded by people that are super, super talented. And it just keeps kind of pushing me to keep moving on. And that's a big part of it too. I think that if I didn't have the people that I surround myself currently, I think we may be having a different conversation, but I am surrounded by a group of people that are super talented and super excited to keep going. And that's what kind of keeps me going also.
Well, yeah, I definitely agree. I think it is a question that we all go over in our heads, we tackle with, you know, we wrestle with. And it's those trying times that make you think of it more often. I mean, I've been there many times over the years. I mean, I even took a break, a hiatus. I stepped back. I stopped playing altogether, stopped doing everything. I went to different outlets and activities and interests But in the back of my head, I always knew that I was going to come back. That was my goal. It's like, I'm going to come back and do this, kind of finish what I started. I needed like a refresher. I needed to just to kind of like recharge and take on different perspectives. And I did. Eventually, it was a number of years. And I came back and, things were different at that point. Having this newness and learning, though it was frustrating, there was something exhilarating about it. Even in recent years, you're like, you ask yourself, what's the point? How many times am I going to repeat this same routine or just keep tackling the same problem? No matter how many times you overcome it, it seems to keep coming back in a different way or, somebody else. And, a lot of times I'll joke with myself and go, it's not the business, it's the people. I'm included in that as well. I guess maybe at times I'm difficult, and I am. But like you said, there is going to be a point in all of our career that, we're not going to do this anymore. Either we're going to die doing it, and then we're not doing it anymore. Or we make it a point and say, listen, I'm just not going to... That doesn't mean that I'm not going to play, per se. Like, I could maybe still play around and that kind of stuff, but maybe I'm not going to play out anymore. And there's a lot of shows you go to and you go, I don't understand why I keep doing this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you get the real good shows and you go, all I need to do is just do these kind of shows. And that kind of goes, okay, in our line of career choice, it's those little things that keep pushing you forward, right? You get like 5 new likes or 5 new fans, or you do real good one night at a merch table and you go like, well, this is why I'm doing this. This is part of why I'm doing this. So then it just kind of fuels you to the next, to the next wall you hit.
It's a great way to look at it.
And we take these little wins constantly to keep feeding us forward. Now, some people would say, is it worth it? I mean, I've had that question asked to me by a lot of people, like over the years. Like, is it really worth it? All the stress and the anxiety you go through. And someone said to me, like, it always seems like there's some kind of issue going on. You're working through this and putting out this fire and that fire. And I go, yeah, well, that's part of what we do, And I've said that a lot of the business I don't like. I've said it on this show. But unfortunately, you have to contend with it because it's part of what we do. Yep. I love the writing and the recording aspect and the creation. And like you take nothing and you make it something. And how it changes through this long process. And you're like, man, I got from point A to point Z. And it's just, wow. And then you want to repeat it. But at the end, you're like, wow, I want to do this again. For the longest time, and I've said this on the show, and I've talked to you about it in private as well, like I hated playing live. I just couldn't stand the whole routine. But over the years, I've just, in recent time, last decade or so, I've learned to enjoy it more. I've simplified it for myself. There's still some concern here and there, but depending on how you go about it, you just try to focus on what you can do and what you can control. Because there's 99% of the other stuff you have there's nothing you could do about it.
Nothing you could do about it.
Nothing. And sometimes if you just let it play out, somebody else will fix it that probably should have fixed it in the first place, or, because a lot of times I would take on responsibility that wasn't mine just because I wanted what we were doing to blossom in its best possible light and not have any, and you learn that over time. And like you said, when the pandemic hit, a lot of us sat there and going, what's the point? And a lot of us didn't come back.
A lot of us didn't come back.
So they made that choice. And like I said, at some point, we're all going to make that choice. I think that if you're struggling with it right now and you're wrestling with it, you have to ask yourself a couple questions. And the first is, am I truly doing everything that I should be doing to make this work? Because if your complaint is, nothing's happening, I'm getting nowhere, no one's noticing me, well, I'm going to tell you, join the club, because the line started back there and applications are about 10 years behind. Because that's all our bitch.
It's like working at the DMV.
That's right. So, you know what I mean? That line never moves, but you constantly stand in it. It does get longer. It moves in the one end, not the other end. But seriously, if you're struggling with that, you got to ask yourself, am I really doing everything I'm supposed to do? Am I making excuses for myself? Am I putting the blame on somebody else? Am I thinking I'm doing everything, but I'm really not? Am I just playing rock star? Because if you're just playing rock star, not much is going to happen. If you're really into the nitty-gritty of it, in today's market, there's so many things and opportunities that you can get things moving. Now, does that mean that you're going to become Metallica and join that tour? Nope, not at all. Are you going to get on Billboard's top 10? Nah, probably not. But can you get some airplay? Can you get some shows? Can you make some interactions? Can you get some, there's a lot of things you can do, and it depends on what level you're working at.
Yeah.
Right? And like I said earlier, sometimes it's just the small wins that propel us. I mean, somebody will go, well, 5 new likes, what difference does that make? Well, that means 5 other people, new people that didn't yesterday, like the music now.
And know who you are.
And know who I am. That's an audience. That's a show.
Yep.
You also have to ask yourself, am I associating with the right people? This goes back to your resources. Are your resources strong enough that they're actually helping you and not tearing you down or anchoring you into a position? You could be playing with guys that you're best buddies with. But man, if they're a black cloud, they're not worth the time for what you're trying to achieve. I'm not saying that they're not good people. Not saying that you can't associate with them, but maybe in your career choice, they may not be the best.
Yeah.
Maybe you're playing the wrong venue. Maybe you're playing the wrong style of music. Maybe you're not being true to yourself. You're trying to fit yourself into a mold that doesn't exist. There's a bunch of different things, especially if you're wrestling with quitting. Now listen, if you've been at it for 10 years, 20 years, I get it. You're contemplating. Is this really worth it? The time away, all the sacrifice, the money, the financial, things aren't the same. Yeah, I get it. If you've only been in it a couple months, well, listen, you got to put a little bit more time. Nothing happens overnight. Nothing happens in this business overnight. But it does work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and you have to decide how you want to do that. There isn't a cut and dry answer here, but before you quit, you have to ask yourself certain questions. You have to take stock in what it is you're doing. You have to be honest with yourself. Am I writing good material? Yeah, maybe 10% of it's good. The other stuff is, it's not really that good. Well, then what are you doing in the 10%? Make that 10% 90% somehow. Is everything going to be out of the park? Nope, not at all.
Right.
But you're trying to get to that. You're honing your craft. Maybe you're not honing your craft enough. Maybe you're not doing enough promotion, marketing. And in today's world, because we're all self-sufficient, self-financing, self-motivating, whatever else you want to add to that, we need the self-discipline and the commitment to do all these other jobs. Unfortunately, that's the role of the artist now, because you're not going to have a label come in and do all this stuff for you. Even if you did have a label sign you, an independent label, a boutique label, and again, I'm talking on our end, because you're not going to pay them for certain things. Some you are, because some have changed over to that model. They want you to put money up front. Big labels, they finance everything, then you have to pay them back. You pretty much have to work for them, or work it off by touring, and they get a piece of your merch and all, and they take their cut first. Your cut is last, if at all. Whatever's left, little bit. And I know you can't see it because it's a podcast, but I got my fingers together. I don't even know if I get a piece of paper in there, but you know what I'm talking about. So you have to go through all that stuff, because if you quit, the only thing you're going to ensure is that nothing's ever going to happen.
You are listening to the Cosmick Voice with your hosts, Chris Natalini and Mick Michaels.
Is it okay to quit? I think it is. Like, there comes a time when some people just go, you know what? This isn't what I want to do anymore. Okay, that's cool, man. There's nothing wrong with that. We're human. Things change. We change. Situations change. Something, dramatic thing may have happened in your life, and you go, you know what? It's not worth this anymore. I want to go do this. And for some, as Chris pointed out earlier, the pandemic was one of those dramatic things. And people go, you know what? My time with my family, my wife, my kids, my father, my brother, my mother, whatever is more important.
Yeah.
And that's what they decided to do. And that's okay. But if you're going to stay in the game, complaining about it isn't the way to go, because it's non-productive. It's actually detrimental, and we've talked about that in the Dirty Laundry episode. Nobody wants to hear an artist bitch and complain all the time. Here he goes again. Here he goes. It's the boy who cried wolf. And I realized that in today's world, because of Twitter and social media, all these other outlets, it's given forum to everybody and anybody to make a complaint. And artists use it now as a way to stay relevant. Somebody puts something out in the news, they have some refute about it.
Right.
It's them in the news.
Yep.
So-and-so said bang. So-and-so said bang about so-and-so. They may not even know so-and-so, but they're commenting as if they were an expert. There are several artists, especially in the hard rock and heavy metal genre, that seem to do that without fail. You're like, well, man, what are they going to say tomorrow? right? Everybody's got something to say, and then you got a couple weeks of album sales or people, who is this guy? Let me check them out, whatever. I don't know. But quitting, it's kind of normal. Ask yourself, why do I want to quit? Why is it that I want to? Why do I keep contemplating quitting? What's quitting going to get me? What is it opening up? Is it opening up another door, another opportunity? Because some people go, well, one door closes, another opens. And that's true. But sometimes just kind of sitting idle doesn't necessarily... If you're going to quit and sit idle and hoping somebody opens up a door for you, you got a long wait. Maybe that's your problem in your career. Maybe you've been sitting idle. It's true. You got to think about that. Don't sit idle, right? Your craft should be being honed all the time. But if it's something that you're really contemplating, you got to ask yourself, why is it that I want to do that? What's not working for me? Just by going through that alone may give you the perspective as to, maybe if I just change that, things will be more apt in my direction. Maybe I won't be contemplating wrestling with the idea of that I want to quit, because I'm going to see some kind of sustainability in terms of what it is that I want to do.
Right. I think, too, that, a lot of us, and I stopped doing this a long time ago, but there was a period of time where I was always, how did they get that shot? How did that band do that? Like, why are they getting it when I am not? And I feel that I'm better than them. Like, that's just something that we all go through at a certain part of our lives when it comes to being in a band. Unfortunately, it's just it's just how it is, right? I gave that up a long, long time ago. It's not about what they're doing. It's about what you're doing, like you were saying. What am I not doing? You just kind of have to reevaluate where you are, whether a band or a solo artist. Just go, what am I doing wrong? Take a look at your surroundings and just see how things are happening. How do people carry themselves? Are you a little more difficult than, are you at a show on a bill and are you being a little more difficult than you should be? Although you don't see it yourself, but then you look around and go, well, these guys aren't asking for this. Maybe I shouldn't be asking for it. You just kind of have to reevaluate what you're doing. And it's a perfect example, too. You and I were just at a show together, and there was a gentleman on stage, and he had an act. And the act came off really, really crummy. I mean, I'm going to be honest. It came off really... I understand what he was trying to do, but it didn't come off well at all. And he really could have cemented himself as someone that no one would ever work with again. And I understand it's part of the act, but sometimes at the lower levels, when you're just starting out, maybe don't go full on with your act. Maybe just kind of go slowly into it. See what works, see what doesn't. I'm definitely a believer in throwing everything at the wall and see what sticks. But if you're going to cut yourself out, then maybe that's not the thing that, maybe that's not the right decision. You just kind of have to look at what you're doing and just change some ways. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. There's nothing wrong with asking clubs or, bars, whatever, like, how do I get in here? What do I do? What do you need me to do to get to this, to do these things? And you may not get answers at all, but there'll be at least one person that gives you an answer. And sometimes that's all you need is just one person and just get you to that next level. Like we were saying, sometimes you go, God, why do I do this? And then you do this great show and you sell merch and you go, this is why I do it. And that takes you to the next one. Well, same thing with learning how to do things. You're just going to keep doing things and see what works. And you just have to look in the mirror and ask yourself, what are you doing wrong? It might not be everybody else. Sometimes it's you and what you're doing wrong. And that's not a bad thing. I mean, it's, some people do have better opportunities. And that's just something you have to realize. And you have to go, okay, well, I want that same opportunity. What do I have to do to get there? And then just try to get there. And you may not get there, but at least you'll be working towards it. You may not get that opportunity that you want, but it may present you an opportunity that you didn't think you would want or need, and you get it, and you go, oh, yeah, this is pretty awesome. And it's just that one thing that takes you one step further.
Yeah, self-evaluation, I think it should be a key component into what we do. I think in anything, any career choice, any profession, I think that self-evaluation, the honesty in it is crucial for your advancement, for your betterment, for your longevity. If everything you do, you think is the best, you're kind of putting the blinders on.
Yeah.
And as artists, we all have a tendency to do that. Everybody thinks that the song they wrote is top of the charts. Like, right? Oh my God, where in the world hears this?
Yeah.
And we've all been there. We've all done it. We get it. I've come out of the studio going, oh my God, man. And then, and then you calm down a little bit, but yeah, that self-evaluation, I think, is definitely key. You have to ask yourself, what's really happening? Why am I having these thoughts over and over again about quitting? But again, the flip side of that is nobody has the right to tell you, hey, man, it's time to quit.
Right.
Right?
That is
I
right.
mean,
Right.
we as fans, as the audience, as listeners, we all say, one of the arguments, Kiss should have hung it up 20 years ago. They should have went out with the End of the Road tour back when it was the final farewell tour. And people go, this band should hang it up. This guy hasn't. That's an opinion. Nobody knows. Nobody has the right to. They can say whatever they want to say, but that just because someone's saying it doesn't mean that it has to be that way. If people are telling you, look, man, go get a day job because this isn't working for you. I don't know. You can still go get a day job, but you can continue doing what you're doing. So keep that in mind, too. Only you can make that decision, but it has to be a decision that you feel is best for you as a person in your life, regardless of your choice of career, is best. Because then what lies behind will be even better. Because if you go into it with regrets, making that decision, I quit, you know what, I'm done. And then you have regrets. Yeah. Because we've all been there too, right? I mean, there's been times at the end, I go, you know what, I'm done, guys. I'm done. This is it. And I walk out and, and whatever. But sometimes that's just a reaction. I know in my head. Listen, I've contemplated many times. There was a time I kept saying, you know what, maybe at the end of this year, it's time for me to go out when I'm still doing well for me. Right. And there was a couple weeks I'm thinking, I didn't talk to anybody about it. A couple weeks I was thinking about it. And I was actually getting comfortable with it. I was kind of looking forward to it. Like, man, where's this going to open up? What am I going to do? Then I started thinking the other side. It's like, well, what am I going to do to replace this? Right. Because there's an outlet for me to write and record and do all this kind of stuff. And I thought, wow, maybe I can get involved in other stuff and I can do more of this. But the truth of the matter is that's very difficult to do. Like, if I did more producing and more writing for other people and more engineering. The thing is everybody today's a producer. Everybody today's a writer. Everybody today's an engineer. Everybody today's an artist. Why would they need you? Right. And the other thing is nobody wants to pay for your skill, your time, your effort. Right. So they figure, well, I can do it myself. And there's good and bad to that. But for me, and I talked to this story before, when I left the business many years ago, I stopped playing as well. I didn't like the way I was playing anymore. The thing was if I played, I would write. If I wrote, I'd have to record. If I recorded, I'd have to release. And at some point, I'd have to play out. So I needed to get rid of all that because I couldn't do one because in my head it didn't work like that. Like I wasn't Mr. Campfire. Hey, give me that acoustic guitar, play around the campfire with Kumbaya on it. That's not the thing. I always wanted to be in a band. I wanted to write songs. I wanted to play songs. I wanted to perform songs. I wanted to release songs. That was my goal. There was a whole thing to that, part of who I was, what I did, but it affected me on even a spiritual level. So I said, I can't do it partially because it's going to hurt me worse. Because I'll be walking around going, oh, man, and then I'll never do what I was supposed to do well. So I let it go. I said, let it go. Knowing, I said, I'm going to come back to this at some point. I'm going to come back to this. And I knew when it was time, I started getting the bite, the bug. My head started getting back to where, and that's when I talked about this in another show, I said, I'm going to do things a certain way. I'm going to do them this way. That's the way I want to do them. That's the way it's going to work best for me. And I've been on that path. Am I flexible? Do I compromise? Yeah, once in a while. You have to be because you're working with different people and all the time. I took that break, came back, and sometimes, listen, it's okay. I quit today. Take a couple weeks off, take a month off, take a year off. Maybe you need that change in perspective, that washing. Like Tommy Kiefer said, you don't know what you got until it's gone. I'm sure he wasn't the first one to say it, but he made it pretty popular. So when I came back, I felt refreshed, though I was staring at a whole new business, a whole new industry, whole new way of recording.
Yeah, that's the thing, right?
Right? I was like, wow, because when I left, we were still doing analog. We were just breaking into, and on our level, just breaking into the digital stuff, and that was just cumbersome. I was like, oh my God, this is a nightmare. This is crazy. They're telling you this is better? Nah. I don't understand any of this stuff. I mean, before I could just press play, record, rewind, fast forward, punch in, punch out. Now I got all these other buttons and F1, F2, F this, F you. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, man. That's a decision you have to make. But nobody else can tell you that. If you feel in your heart, hey, listen, this isn't it for me. And I've seen a lot of guys jump into the music business thinking they're going to do this or that. They're mirror rock stars, you know, with their hairbrush and the air guitar. They say, oh, man, I want to do this. It's something I've always wanted to do as a kid. So they try it, they, you know, whatever. They get their little taste, they get excited. They wind up spending a lot of money, and then nobody's coming to the show, and then that's the end of it. It's done. A couple years tops into it. Oh, this is way harder than I thought. Or there's more involved in this. Oh, I thought it was just this. And I've met people in the business that go, oh, it's more than this? Because they associated themselves with just enough that they could kind of skate by. Somebody else was doing all the work. They never had to put the super amount of time in and all, you know. They're kind of like leeches, for a lack of a better word.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
After a while, they suck all the life or blood out of this person, and they pop off and they attach themselves to someone else. And that's what their career is.
Yeah.
There's professional people that are like that, too.
That is true.
Right. You know what I mean? Can it be taxing? Yeah. Is it normal to have these kind of thoughts that, hey, man, I want to quit? Yep, absolutely. Anybody that's been doing it for a number of years, every year you go, yeah, I don't know. Maybe, is this going to be my last one? I don't know. Maybe it is. You know, you get to that show and something's awry and you go, you know what, I'm really getting too old for this. What's the purpose here? But then you have something positive, man. Like you have something positive. A tour comes through. A big show comes through. Somebody recognizes you. You get a call out of the blue. And they go, hey, we want you to be on this bill. Is that something like, yeah. Hey, we're aware you got, you know, something like that. Your song gets whatever. And you're like, wow, that's part of why we're doing this. And then it fuels you. Like I said, at some point, there's a time where we're all going to, that's it. It's done. It's done. Either the Grim Reaper's coming for you or you can beat him to the punch and then enjoy the last couple of years of your life without the stress. I don't know.
I think that, you know, when you're passionate about something, because we do this for fun, right? But we do it because it's a passion. It's not just a passing hobby. It's not like putting model planes together. It's not like that. Like, it's a passion for us. I think when you know, you just know, right? You're going to have many conversations with yourself because of an emotional state. Maybe you and the guys aren't, or girls, whatever, just aren't getting along. You're in a, because all relationships have hills and valleys, and maybe you're just in a valley. But I think you know, right? It's with anything. It's with jobs. It's with relationships. You just know when it's time to be done. And if you question yourself, I think you're not ready to be done. That's just my opinion. Like, I've always found myself not really questioning anything. Like, I don't know if I've ever sat down and went, do I really want to do this anymore? Because if you question it, then I think that you're not ready to. I think when you're ready to be done with something, you just go, okay, I'm done. Like, this is it. Like, I cannot do this anymore. And it just kind of comes to you in a flash. And that is pretty telling when you don't even have to question yourself. You go, okay, I'm done. Like, it's not an emotional thing. You're not walking out of an argument or, you know, whatever. You just having a bad gig. You just go, I'm done. Like, I'm done doing this anymore. And then we've seen that too. We've seen many artists just up and walk away one day, say, I can't do this. I'm out. Peace. In my opinion, if I have to question myself, then I know that I'm not ready to go. There's always going to be that question, but I think my point of that is when you know, you know. It may not be a question. You're just going to know when you are done.
Yeah, Chris DeGarmo, former guitar player and founder of Queensryche, there's a perfect example. He walked away, the height of the band's career.
Yep.
That was it. He hasn't come back. He's been asked multiple times. He has no interest. None at all.
Just done.
I think if you're questioning and you have an issue, you're not sure where to go, maybe just change your environment. A change of environment, change of perspective. Like they say, change your address, change your life.
Yeah.
And as Chris pointed out, a lot of us are doing this because there's a passion. That passion fuels you to keep going. It fuels you to find something new in what you already know. Every day when I'm working on songs, I'm learning something new, some new recording technique, some new engineering procedure, some way of playing something differently. And for some, that may be old hat, but for me, it's new. A new way of writing, a new way of doing it. It's like, wow, that's, you know. So I'm still learning, and a lot of that learning is continuing to fuel me. I don't go around going, yeah, I know it all. And if you're taking this show as, oh, these are two blowhards that know it all, you're missing the point. We don't know it all. That's the thing. Sometimes us just talking to each other helps us work certain things out. We still go into it a lot of times with one eye closed and two hands tied behind your back. We're learning as we go, but there is an excitement to that. It fuels us. It's like, well, how's this going to help me? How's this going to better what I'm doing? You know, have I learned enough to weather this storm and learn something at the same time and not lose my sails? That type of thing. So, is it common? Absolutely, man. Don't feel bad that you're going through it. Don't feel like you're cheating yourself or you're diminishing what you're doing, because we all go through it. Everybody at every level, in every stage of every walk of life. It's not just for us musicians. It's normal. People do that, unfortunately, in relationships. Oh, my God, do I really... You know, if you're asking yourself that question, that means you're looking for the right answer. You're not impulsive. You're not being impulsive. Because that means you're willing to put in the effort to make this work, to figure out what's best for you and everybody involved. And if you're asking yourself that, that means you're engaged. That means you care. Because if you're not asking, people that don't ask questions don't care.
Don't care.
They have no interest, and it doesn't matter one way or the other.
That's right.
So it's okay, but go through the process. Ask yourself, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Can I do more? Is it the people around me? Have I made the right decisions? Do I need to make a change? If you can answer all them and you still come up with the same thing, hey, maybe it's time I quit, well, then maybe it is. And maybe it's not really quitting. Maybe it's just finding something new. Maybe it's taking a break. I took a break, and it did wonders for me. It really did. It really
Sometimes
did.
just step away for a little bit just is all you need.
Yeah.
Like you said earlier.
In our episode that we did, The Dream and the Reality, I had said that learning what you don't want can bring in what you want. And when I took my time off and I came back, I knew exactly what I didn't want. And I focused only on what it was I wanted to achieve. And I've stayed true to that course, and I've been more happy for it. And I'm telling you, in the last 12 years, my career has been more successful than it ever has in the last, 35 years. You could level that success out any way you want, but to me, I know the numbers, I know the difference. I'm still doing it. I still get giddy. I still feel like a newbie at times, and that's kind of exciting to me. And when something comes in that I've worked real hard for, I feel good about it. I feel good about the guys that I'm playing with, working with. I feel when things come through, I feel like that I'm able to give them the experience as well as me, and that we can share it together. It's just phenomenal. It's just phenomenal. And there's other things too that are more personal to me that I don't tell other people, but it's just a fantastic thing. Do I still wrestle with it? Yeah, because I am getting up in age, and it is getting harder. Just age in itself makes gigging and touring way harder. Especially if you're a regular guy, go back to a regular life, got to go out again. If all you did was tour, these guys are used to that. That's all you do, 200, 300 shows a year. You're used to it. For us other guys that go in and out of this, listen, it's taxing. It's taxing.
Yeah, it is. It is. Definitely gets harder as we get older, for sure.
For sure.
Yep. As in anything.
Yeah, as in anything. You're absolutely right. It does get harder. It's how we go about doing it. Is it more efficient, more effective for us? How do we benefit the best that we can out of it? Make this work for us. We work harder, but our harder is working smarter. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
What do you think, Bud? You got anything else you want to add?
The only thing that I want to say is if you're thinking about it, just be smart about it. Like Mick said earlier, make sure you're not going to have any regrets no matter what you do. If you walk away, that's okay too. Just make sure you don't look back and go, man, I wasn't ready. Make sure you exhaust everything. That way, when you're ready to go, you can be done, or you just keep going, or take some time off and reevaluate and start fresh. We're only on this world, as far as we know, one time. So you want to make it, you want to bang it out, man. You want to do as much as you can in the short time that we're here. And if you're ready to quit, then that's okay too. But just make sure that that's what you want to do.
That's it. Chin up, chest out, stay strong, and keep swinging till someone else goes down. If you
That's
like
it.
that episode, check out some of our other episodes at www.thecosmicvoice.com. Step into the Cosmic Verse and fill that void. Thanks so much for listening. This is the Cosmic Voice. Be sure to check us out at thecosmicvoice.com. Like and follow us on Facebook at The Cosmic Voice. You can find The Cosmic Voice everywhere you listen to online podcasts, like Deezer, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Stitcher, and so many more.
Okay, folks, that will do it for another episode of The Cosmic Voice. Mick and I would like to say thank you very much for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
You're listening to The Cosmic Voice. Music, talk, and nothing but business.